that I have not shared yet. Currently on the way to me, the power delivery. Keep up in the corners and the twisties with some Porsches, like a 10-second car. It's basically in pieces. I didn't really say this yet. So that was still the 1.4 liter multi-air turbo with the compulsion phase 3 tune and 1446 plus turbo. I went out the other day, did a little 40 to 100 pull in some really hot heat. It was like 90 degrees. If you want to see that video, I'll put a link up here. But basically, while I was driving in that video, I decided to just talk about my K-swap. And that's what I'm going to play in this video. As you're seeing here real quick, it's just a little bit of footage. We just were walking through the shop at New Jersey Speed Shop, and you can see this 124 Spider. This is the one getting the K24 swap. It's basically in pieces. It's got like nothing connected to it. It needs a lot of work done. It's got no front bumper. The engine still needs to get pulled. There are pieces everywhere from inside the car. The seats aren't connected. Seat belts aren't connected. The top is not connected. It's got no windows. The mirrors are off. It's got a fender that's barely hanging on. That's the wrong color. It's got damage to the rear quarter panel. It's got parts in all these other bins and everything. But we're gonna get working on this real soon to do this K-swap. And what you're going to see right now, like I said, is just me driving around, talking about the K24 swap, a little bit of an update, stuff that I have not shared yet. So I hope you guys enjoy it. If you're interested, drop a comment, give it a like, subscribe for more. And don't forget to check out drivendistrict.com, great way to support the channel. This build is getting pretty costly. So if you like some of the parts on drivendistrict.com, even some of the merchandise on there, we got some cool shirts, apparel, all this different stuff. Be sure to head over and check it out. We got lots of stuff on there for a variety of different car enthusiasts. So without further ado, here you go. Here's the little POV drive with me just kind of talking about the K24 swap update. And a quick little update on the K24 124 swap, or as I'm going to call it into the future, the K124. We are really getting close to starting the swap. I know there's been a lot. We were holding off because we were waiting on the transmission adapter plate and the custom flywheel to be done, and it is done. And it's currently on the way to me, as well as almost all the parts for the swap. And then, I didn't really say this yet, but instead of doing a turbo from the get-go, which is going to be a little concerning because we might blow the transmission if we shoot for what we wanted, which was like 400, and the setup we were going for is going to be capable of well over that. So instead, what we're going to do, which I think is going to help other folks too who want to get this swap, is we're just going to do the K24 swap with bolt-ons and cams, see what we can produce, probably somewhere between 240 to 260 wheel horsepower. And that's going to be different to what we're normally seeing on these multi-airs when people say they're hitting like 220 or 210, because it peaks and then drops down near redline because it doesn't hold power. A K-series, these Honda engines, will make peak power until redline, until 8,000 RPM. So it's not only the peak is higher, but it's the power band. So just real quick to touch base on what I was referring to when it comes to the power band. I have a dyno right up here. I'm just like in Photoshop, just showing you guys this. So this is from Monster Fiat, local 500 Abarth Marco. We went dynoed it. Like, this is like a year ago. It wasn't like optimal conditions, and the car is obviously not running the same power right now as he's on the 85 and running more power, but more or less a 1.4 liter with either a factory turbo or even in this scenario where it has a stuffed turbo, it's still not gonna hold extreme power to redline. It's still gonna have a more torquey mid-range, and then the horsepower kind of dies off a little bit. I didn't really find too many dyno graphs that I could use, so I figured let me just use the one that I have myself from like literally experience of doing. So as you can tell, a 124 Spider or a 1.4 liter in general with the turbo, a stuffed turbo like this, it makes really punchy mid-range torque, and it does make decent up top, but as you really ring it out to redline, the power just kind of drops off. So there are some 1.4 liters making around, give or take, let's say claiming 210, 220, 230, whatever, even if it is 240 or something. Usually it's not until redline, and if it is, it's a built engine, it's a bigger turbo, and then you're slacking all down here. By all means, that's good, you're carrying it to redline. If you're doing a race of any degree, you want to pull to redline up top. Now on the flip side, if we look down, this is just like a YouTuber, who is it, Tuning by Nick. I kind of go watch his videos every so often. He kind of just dynos a bunch of K-series, so it's pretty cool actually. I'll watch it just to kind of see what different setups do. Now this particular setup is a K24, a stock K24 engine. I forget the exact specifics. Maybe I'll just list them in the corner here. I believe it's just bolt-ons and possibly a set of cams. Might not even be as aggressive as what we're going for. But the point is, look at this extremely linear power band and notice how it makes power until redline. It just climbs. So these two cars, even if the 1.4 liter is making more torque, my chair's freaking squeaking here, even if it's making more torque or making a relatively similar horsepower, when you put these two cars side by side and they do a road race together, you're going to see a huge difference, because a car like a K series, like these Honda engines that rev sky high, they just make power continuously and linearly to redline. That's the difference. I'm actually going to do something pretty weird. I'm going to take this, let me duplicate it, I'm gonna flip it and watch it be almost a complete opposite. Let me lower the opacity a little bit. Let's move it up here. Check that out. How funny is that? Literally, if you flip the K series, what do you call it, dyno graph, it's very similar to what a 1.4 is. It just shows that crazy difference, how a K series is gonna keep making power. It's not going to make a ton of torque. Of course, when you go turbo it, well, that's a different scenario. But right now, a car like this particular one was making 240. Torque was, what, 188? If we can kind of get at this nice territory of about 200 wheel torque and like 260 wheel horsepower, give or take, which I think is accomplishable on a K24 with bolt-ons, cams, possibly 85, not even tremendous engine work, that I think is gonna be amazing. It's gonna feel awesome, and more importantly, I think the factory transmission is gonna be able to handle it with zero issues. Time will tell, but that's gonna be one of the easier, more budget-friendly swaps, and I just think this is gonna be awesome. Into the future, like I said, we'll turbo it, we'll do more. I have a friend in California who's going turbo right off the bat, so I'm hoping I'll have some clips of him. He actually raced his app button willow on the track, and he used to keep up in the corners and the twisties with some Porsches, some higher end cars, some Ferraris with his 1.4 liter with the Euro Compulsion tune, 1446 plus. Things freaking awesome. But then on the straightaways is where they would take away. I think now they ain't gonna keep up. They're not gonna pass them, regardless if it's twisties or straightaways. So hopefully I could bring you guys more content as that as well. That might even be before we turbo it, to be honest. But we're looking to gradually take it step by step, bring you guys the content, bring you guys the ability to purchase the swap kit with tune, without tune, just bolt-ons. But again, just a quick little overview of the power delivery and how that makes a difference, because I think a lot of folks are too stuck on peak numbers, but it's not all about peak numbers. The power delivery is also very important. And I don't want this to take anything away from what I'm already doing with the black car with the Euro Compulsion tune, because that 1.4 liter is a freaking awesome engine. It might be a pain to tune, but it's got so much soul and character, and when you can get that thing making power, it really does make power. It feels awesome, it sounds awesome, and I'm gonna keep pushing my current black car with Euro Compulsion with the 1446 plus turbo 1.4 liter. We'll see what we could do with that. This is not going to be for everyone, the K24, but if you think it is for you, then by all means reach out to me, drop a comment, message me on Instagram, go to my website, contact us. Me and New Jersey Speed Shop are going to be able to do this for you if you're on the East Coast, or if you just want to buy the swap kit in general. Hopefully in the near future we will have update videos of the process, and then very shortly after, pricing and everything else. So I'm excited about that. I think it's gonna feel amazing on this little car. We're gonna get it tuned. So if anyone who buys a swap kit, what we're gonna do afterwards is they're gonna have a base, well, not even a base map, it's literally gonna be a tuned file for the exact swap kit that we saw, that we put on my other white 124 Spider, which is bolt-ons and cams to start. And then we'll put the turbo on into the future. Might see how much the transmission holds, but I think for a lot of folks, that 250 to 300 range, which you can do with kind of bolt-ons depending on type of fueling and stuff, and depending on how much engine work you want to do all motor, you do not have to turbo it. And I got a feeling the transmission is going to hold it no problem, because currently the 1.4 liter multi-air turbo is very torquey, and that's what damages transmissions a little bit more. The K series is going to have a very linear power band all the way up to the top, and I think the linear and the not as much punchy torque from the get-go is really going to allow the factory transmission in here to hold up perfectly fine. And it should be a hell of a damn car. Some people don't like the way I say it. I say it's building like a modern day S2000. That's how I word it because I owned an S2000. I was debating on buying another S2000, and instead I bought a 124 Spider. The rear end, reminiscent with the taillights. Of course, the front, not really, but at the end of the day, it's still in a car segment that is kind of just disappearing in the sense of affordable rear-wheel drive convertible roadsters. Even now with the S2000s being even more expensive than a 124. So you could buy 124s for cheaper than a S2000 nowadays. Obviously, so much newer, so much nicer interior and everything. And then by doing a K24 swap, you're getting the best of the reliability. You're already getting the reliability of the car being made in Japan, being shared with the Mazda Miata platform. The 1.4 liter is freaking awesome. I love it. It's got so much character. It sounds amazing. That's why I'm still pushing it in this current black car, alongside with zero compulsion, doing everything I can. But I'm excited to get the K24. In my other 124, I think even all motor, it's going to feel really, really nice. And like I said, eventually that kit's going to be available to everyone. I don't know pricing yet, so don't go crazy asking me. We're literally in the midst of all this. We're doing everything right now. But it shouldn't be too outrageous. And it really just depends on how much power you want to do. Once you put a turbo on the exact setup we're doing, you could easily get 400 to 600 horsepower or more. And then it just comes down to the transmission holding that. And I was doing some estimating using that quarter-mile online calculator, which I referenced to my old Evo 10 back in the day when I personally brought it to the drag strip. And I put the weight and power of that car. And I did it in another video. Maybe I'll put screenshots up. I forget. But if not, the point I'm trying to make is when I put my weight and power the car made into the calculator, it was literally to a T. I think the ET was like literally on the dot or within 0.1. In the mile per hour, they estimated like 1 or 2 miles per hour slower, so it was actually quicker. The point being is that calculator was pretty on the dot, spot on, that I ran at a drag strip with the power and weight of that car. And I put in a K20, well, not a K24. I put in a 124 Spider with, can't remember off the top of my head, it was either 250, 260, 2 whatever, I don't know, wheel horsepower, which is what we're kind of shooting for with the all-motor setup just being bolt-ons in a tune. And I think it spit out a 12.7 at like 112. That's freaking awesome. Like right now, I'm doing like 13.95 at like 102 or something. So we're knocking off well over a full second and adding a whole nother 10 miles per hour to the trap speed. The car, the setup itself initially, like with the 400 and change wheel horsepower, according to that calculator, is like a 10-second car. So, it really depends on how you want to do it. We're going to hopefully just go through the stages, and the point of that is to be able to offer you guys, anyone who's interested, let it be a 124 Spider or an NC Miata, because this transmission is an NC Miata, so we're going to want to do an NC Miata next. Let it be if it's a personal car that we just buy to do, or a customer car. So if you're in the tri-state area on the East Coast, either with a 124 Spider or an NC Miata, I purchased an additional set right off the bat of the transmission, adapter plate and transmission adapter plate and the custom flywheel for this car, also NC Miata. Point is, we're going to be pushing the car, and the point is we want to start off slow. We're going to go like all motor, just in the sense of bolt-ons, maybe cams, then maybe E85, then bigger turbo in general, and just kind of go from there and see what we can do. And most likely get a car that we currently have right now in the 13s, should be doing 12s right off the bat, then into the 11s, then into the 10s. Then we break shit, and then we fix shit and just have more fun.